Fine. I don't need a
It's
mic.
perfect.
It sounds good. Okay.
It's perfect. No one's gonna listen to
Uh,
what we're saying. They're gonna be like, "Wow, look at his pretty blue eyes." They're gonna be, "Wow, look at those curls."
Stop.
I want to talk about those curls.
I'm kidding.
No, but I have through
Yeah.
Instagram and following you. It's like that is some good curly hair. Where'd it come from?
Thank you.
Where'd you get it?
It's my hair. That's my hair. Where did I get it? Do you really want the whole since
Yeah.
Turkey?
Origin of it, like
I mean,
ancestry.
it's my no, it's my it's my hair. But I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
why do I have more of it in the front of
Yeah.
my head?
Oh, it's
Because
yeah.
I went to Turkey and went to Dr. Cynic and had my
Oh,
hair moved.
and I had a friend that also did something similar. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that procedure props because I have a friend who also went and did something similar, and I immediately can observe and tell that he had something done. I did not. I thought
Yeah.
you just grew your natural curls out.
Well, I didn't have like complete hair loss. I just had a really far
Yeah,
back receded
yeah,
hairline and it wasn't growing anymore. And I was like, you know what? This is something that annoys me. Not like I
yeah,
couldn't function. I just was like, it'd be fun to have
yeah.
options a little bit again.
That's
So yeah, I
amazing.
went.
Your body, your choice. And I am giving props because a lot of times I feel like I can clock somebody. I mean, it's none of my business, but like sometimes when I can tell that it's maybe sort of been enhanced or something. But
Yeah,
I
I have
said,
the right hair for it.
Dalen grew out of goddamn hair. That's what I
I
thought.
did. it's fun.
That's
I
good.
didn't realize how curly my hair was until this again. I
A
mean,
friend of mine did actually beard transplant, which I didn't even know something like that was
yeah,
possible.
they'll do
He went,
anything.
I don't know where he went to, but he did this. They took skin, like hair from back here, and they put it on his face. And now he's got this
Yeah,
full, massive beard. I'm like, that's incredible. Things like that can be done.
I know. I never really thought of, I've always had a full beard, so I've never
Yeah,
thought about getting that done like
yeah.
as a thing. Like people would worry about
Jesus.
it. Like
I
if I
had
didn't
no
have a
idea.
beard, I'd be upset about it, but
You are so full of secrets. Is it a secret?
not really. No, I used to talk about it right when it happened, but then I got sort of the point where like I don't really, it's not important anymore.
Yeah.
But since you asked and since you noticed,
they're
yeah.
they're luscious and they're just. I just imagine like wet. I don't know.
I
Anyways,
had it longer a little bit ago and it was fun,
yeah.
but it's like a whole, I mean, you could have worse problems, but it was like a whole maintenance thing. Like every day I had to figure out what I wanted to do
Oh,
and what
yeah.
product to fix it and la la
Was
la.
living. You're in LA, right?
Yeah,
Was LA putting the pressure on you to look a
to
certain
get
way?
no, I think it's really, since we're talking about it, I'll get semi-serious. I think it, like you said, it is a personal experience of your own
Yeah.
body because I don't think think bald men are really attractive and
Right.
it's more how I feel about it's deep a little bit in terms of my gender construction. Like
Yeah.
I feel a little agendered. So
Yeah.
or gender fluid a little bit.
Right.
So having like such a specific gender presentation was a little, didn't feel
Oh,
like
with the hair, with the balding,
yeah, it's
with
not
the
the,
hairline receding, or just like hairs. Okay,
hmm
I gotcha, gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
like I felt dysphoric a little bit, which I don't really use that lightly because
Yeah.
I know how for people that really experience that, it's really intense and deep, but I felt a mild bit of it. Like this just doesn't fit how I feel about myself.
Yeah.
And since there's something you can do about it, I did it. But
Yeah.
if there wasn't, I would have, been fine. It's just,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's the incredible world we live in. You know what? It
I
scared me a
know.
little bit.
Mm.
Ben Platt
Yeah, I think he grew his hair out too. Well,
or
yeah.
something. I'm sorry, that just popped up. And
Well,
he's another incredible singer like yourself.
oh, thank you. Yeah, he's very talented.
Oh, this is a safe place for everybody, and it's always clothing optional.
Is that so?
Just kidding.
I live in an ADU, a California thing. It's like a back
Okay.
house, and the roof
Oh,
is
right.
it's hot. It just gets hot, and then every summer, just from the sun.
Yeah,
So if I'm sweating,
that's
that's
crazy.
why I get self-conscious about it. But no
Yeah,
big deal.
I'm self-conscious of looking like a tomato, but that's just because I'm hot. And I turned off
You're
all
a
my
hot
fans that
tomato.
they say I'm a hot tomato. Thank
Yeah,
you.
tamale. Yeah.
So let's get serious business. I have a
Yeah.
list.
Oh my God,
Music.
I love it. I love it.
What are you doing with music these days? Like, what's
Well,
it like? And also, what's it like being a musician living in LA? That seems like
okay.
it's, I'd love to hear about it.
I think it's different for everyone. I used to live in New York, as I've
Right.
told you. And there it's like everything's really DIY, very like, let's get this going. Everything's a stage in New York. Like, there's
Yeah.
literally people playing, busking. There's in every bar, there's a box in the corner that you can get up and sing something. They're like, there's shows tonight, at some gay club at like Macri
Yeah.
Park or at the blanking on it. The bar that was literally around the corner from me. Anyway, we'll come back to me. But there's just always
Julius? No.
No, that's in Manhattan. That's a good one. I DJ'd
Oh,
there once.
okay. Cool.
Metropolitan.
Oh,
I saw
okay.
the awning. Yeah, I used to sing there all the time. So it's just a community thing. Like you felt like there was this community of queer performers that just you could just the entree was like you want to get on stage and wear something skimpy or pour something on yourself and you could
Right.
you were like a nightlife performer and I loved it. I loved the kind of ragtag kind of ragamuffin,
Yeah.
kind of queerdoness of it. Being in LA is different. I think people I like the vibes here, but people it's a little less tongue in cheek. Like people don't have that same sense of cabaret humor that makes things
Mm,
ironic and silly, but still
right,
but still
right.
serious in its own way. Here it's like people are pretty serious. Like we're
Okay. Is
tapping.
it because there's more competition or it's just a different vibe?
It's a more professional, music these days is
Okay.
about sync licensing. So you want to get your little two snippets of track put in a TV show or
Oh,
you want to
what
get
is it called? I don't even, I'm unaware. What's that called? Sync?
sync licensing. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what it's called when you like have a music track that's
Yeah.
syncing in like a moment in the show, like a
Oh,
beat in a
okay.
show. Or obviously in a TikTok, you want to get your little
Right.
like
Yeah.
quick
I've
little
learned
bitty
a lot of
thing.
songs. I'm a voyeur on TikTok. I don't post stuff, but I watch other people and dances. And like, I've learned about a lot of music from things from like TikTok because I've heard it like 20-second clips,
Yeah,
20-second
exactly.
clips.
And yeah, so I just started doing this when it was such a different time when people were like, I want to stand out, I want to be different, I want to be Bjork, I want to be,
All
like
right.
ah, like do something so unique that you're just that was the time. So now it's a little more like, how do I fit in? How do I pass as something sync licensable,
Right.
And so I have never really gotten totally on board. I mean, I'd love to have one of my songs sync licensed, but
Yeah.
I haven't been willing to like really sacrifice my quirkiness or my queerness
Yeah.
in or
Well,
tip towards the
yeah.
stylings of queer artists right now, which is we could talk all about that. But how it
Yeah.
relates.
Does it change the way you make music? Like if you're making music, like hoping to get these sync opportunities or notice, does it like change your music process or writing process if you like
Absolutely. Yeah.
trying to go down this avenue instead of
Yeah.
just like pouring your heart out or something
Yeah.
of the sort?
I mean,
I don't know.
I like to follow the history of music. So there's always in every era there's been like, well, this is what's trending, so let's make
All
tracks that
right.
sound like I mean the 70s sound like the 70s, right? But there was always auteurs that kind of like stepped outside of their time or their heart, like you said, had just some like real specific thing they
Yeah.
had to say and they weren't going to sacrifice it. And they wind up being always in every era sort of like the leader of the pack. But so I would say it hasn't changed me personally, but I definitely see like I've seen artists, queer artists that are, starting out, they have like their heartfelt beginning where they're trying to like
Right.
make that sort of empathetic statement. Then the next album they're like singing about, literally like where can we fuck like right now.
Right, right.
So they
I
kind
always go back to like also like queer musicians. I think it's always I've always thought about this. Like it's so tricky to be considered like a serious artist without like having to like sell sex to get people to notice you. Um, it's
yeah,
that's sort of a big conversation. I brought it up so many times, but I just
yeah.
know I know
It's
what
kind
gets
of baffling to
clicks.
me. I mean, I get it. We all want to look at, dick and be turned on 24 hours a
Yeah,
day. But it's so easy to do that. So you
right.
think like, why don't you want your music to tell? For me personally, the way I've always approached it is similar to like what I said, like Bjork, but then before that, like just theater music. But I don't like I try to elevate it beyond that. No, I
Yeah.
love theater. I love theater music, but I mean, like, it starts off with this idea of some of it, but it starts off with
Yeah.
this idea of like,
Yeah.
okay, I have this idea I just had. I want to hear something. I want to
Yeah.
like experience it again, but in a way that lightens it up, that makes it more effervescent, like gives it perspective. I've always loved the jazz, like the standards, because
Yeah.
people are sitting there singing about the thing that just happened, and they're making it okay, right? That's what draws me into music is more that kind
Yeah.
of like we're at the end of the road and we're singing about that shit and we're making
All
it
right.
better for everyone else. I don't look to music, pop music especially, like so much for this like I'm so excited in this moment right now, like soundtrack to my
Okay.
excitement. I've never looked to music for
Yeah.
that.
Your stuff seems sort of like timeless in a way because I know you're big fans of like the oldies like Shaka Khan and
Oh
that kind of
yes.
stuff, and even what you put out there and how you sing. Like, would you? I don't know if you consider yourself like R and
I
pop.
don't I
I only
think
say,
I'm
but
American.
timeless is a word that when I look at you and your stuff and sort of your style and your hype branding, for lack of a better word, I feel like it's more timeless than you're just like rap's popular now. I'm gonna put a rap song. Okay, this is popular now. I feel like you're
I appreciate that. I do try.
more soulful than
Yeah.
just
Thank you. I just
following
think
what's hot.
thank you. Well, in the topic of Shaka Khan, I've heard her say like recently on Questlove's podcast, like this is the language of the muses. Like this is the
Yeah,
most vital information. This is like a vessel of really really important things. So I've always taken music to be like that. It doesn't mean you always have to sing like that, but it's just
right,
when you're putting something out like I in the world, I definitely approach it like what you're saying, like, oh, this is a statement that's could be
right.
around for a while and it could be bigger. But that said, I
Do
do
like
like fun,
fun.
quirky, weird music that's, just a novelty song or whatever. I like all of it. It's
Yeah.
just for me, like what I want to put out is yeah, timeless or
I like when you keep coming back to Bjork as well, because I feel like there was a time when like musicians and singers were like really individualistic. Like, I don't know, I grew up with like people
hmm
like Cyndi Lauper,
yeah.
like Michael Jackson, Prince. Just
Yep.
like each person was like, there was this whole thing, and they weren't part of like this whole big genre, like kind of
Yeah.
potpourri of everybody. I don't know. I mean, I guess
Uh,
that's now. Maybe that's just because I'm old and I'm out of it.
no, it's
But I
not
feel like
about
there
being
used to be like
old.
these artists they were
Yeah.
like artists, and they were like had
Yeah.
something to say, and they looked and they
It
just
was, I don't believe that age has anything to do with it, really. I think it's
yeah.
more about we're, I've said this to people a bunch. Music used to be a medium, used to be like within itself a source of information and depth of experience that like told its own story. It didn't attach itself to, I mean, there was
Oh,
MTV, but it didn't attach itself to like literally, to me, it's been inverted to the it's a
a
clothes
dance
hanger.
or okay.
No, it's a brand embellishment.
Oh, I like you said
So
that. I like
like
you said, hang on a clothes hanger, sort of instead of
yeah, it's a brand embellishment. So the music itself is no longer vital. It's the personality, the brand that can attach to
okay.
merchandising, to advertising. That's what matters. The
Yeah,
music secondary, sometimes it pushes through beyond that. But like
yeah,
I'm just gonna go there. A lot of the music that young people listen to right now sounds like soccer mom music from the 90s. Like
yeah,
no one, it's not edgy at all, and it's very professional.
yeah.
But to me, the technology, since the melodyning, if you're in the biz, that's the program that people use to
For
auto
like
tune.
auto tune,
Base,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It took away that information, that weird personality and the way
yeah.
people sang. That was sort of smoothed out. Sometimes it's ridiculous how it sounds in certain voices, like Patti LaBelle. They put some auto tune on
Oh,
her on
right,
like
right.
a couple albums. I'm like, it's Patti LaBelle that's like putting on top of a beautiful wedding cake. Like you just don't
You don't
need
need it.
that.
It's funny because like certain people, that is their whole sound too. Like I have never listened to
Mm-hmm.
any music from Post Malone. I don't even want to bring it
Mm.
up. And the first time I heard him sing live, I was like, his whole sound is like this weird auto tune sort of
Yeah.
style. I was just
I,
surprised by it because first of all, I looked at him before I heard him, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's tattooed, grungy, dresses wild. He's gonna sing some rock and roll." And then I was like, "Oh, not at all."
no. It's
Yeah.
just a very different way of communicating. I guess it's because of, I don't know, but I presume it has something to do with the layers of like Avatar, and things
Okay,
are
yeah.
so graphic now. Like he has a million tattoos. I have nothing against tattoos. It's just that
Right.
I can't not see the through
I have a
wave
lot of
where it's like
regrets.
you do. Those are nice. I
Yeah.
think tattoos are amazing. It's just
Right,
that
right.
I
I'm
see
sorry.
this. No, it's okay. I just see this through way of like things becoming more graphic, more visual in general, and like so, like you're expecting this like crazy performance or maybe some
Right.
movement or any kind of
Yeah.
energy, but it's like a flattened graphic language that the voice
Yeah.
sort of like sits on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't.
it's
It
not like
doesn't hit me viscerally the way that I like it to.
see the way that I like and I appreciate musicians, I like when the voice is like the foundation and everything is around it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I like when the talent is there and like
Yeah.
there's other layers there, but I like when the
Same.
talent's
Same.
there, but it's sometimes it's frustrating to me, and I don't bring this back to just the queer community when it's just like the sexy shirtless thirst traps are there
Yeah.
and then their branding's there and then they sing
And
which
then there's
which
like a goat wargle coming out of the.
yeah,
I think that's
actually,
terrible.
this brings up actually. There's like one artist. There's one artist I was gonna bring up because he's like seems like the it man now, and I
Who?
was curious how Orville Peck.
Oh yeah. What do you think?
I I really have always. I first heard his voice. Voice alone, I think is spectacular. I love it. I love his voice so much. I thought it was like Johnny Cash, Lana Del Rey, and there was like
Mm-hmm.
everything. And then I was like, oh, he's got this other. I don't want to call it shtick, but like he's covered his
Mm-hmm.
face. It was a whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. This
Yeah.
is like talking about going into the layers, And
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I've seen some other pictures. I'm like, he's really attractive, And so, and now he's sort of. I love his voice. And he's got
Mm-hmm.
these other layers, and now he's taken off his fringe from his masks, and
Yes.
he's very sexy online lately, so that's getting attention.
Yeah. So you kind of see maybe it's an eclipse.
Yeah, I
Sex
see something
is.
like that. And then I was really, really respected him as like a singer because I really think he's got a phenomenal voice, and I like that his
Yeah.
sound was like different and no, but like anybody
Yeah.
else. And now I'm seeing this is not a judgment. Now I see him with like he did one of his new songs is like Kylie Minogue and Diplo, and
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
know.
oh,
Yeah.
and now he's dancing. So
Yeah.
he's just one of those characters that's like being gay is hot right now, being country's hot right now, and he's just I feel like Orville Peck. I
Yeah.
mean, is in a moment. He's
You
having a
know,
moment.
absolutely. And I would say, like, if we're looking for hits of, I feel like the moments now are much more designed. So, like, I'm not taking away his talent, but it's just the
Yeah.
way I interpret all this is sort of like I'm a designer too. So it's sort of like, oh, I want to creative direct art. I want to creative direct. So we take a little country, we take a little of the references you said. I'm sure it's coming from a genuine place when it comes together for him, but I just that the era of just like a raw expression coming out of the time that we live in because it's
Yeah.
vital, that to me is very rare right now. Like to have someone be like, for instance, it's the hottest summer of the year, right? Like I
Yeah.
know there's
They keep
nothing
getting hotter.
right, there's nothing like sexy or hot to sing about that, but I could see like a whole artist making an identity around like climate crisis or something. That wouldn't be
Yeah.
sexy, but it's just like Joni Mitchell's era was like she was a flower child and she was a poetess and she was singing about
Yeah.
her time, like the values of her generation. And I guess I just long for like a return to people having a statement or making
Mm.
some perspective about the time
Yeah.
that they're in. Orville Peck's really talented. It's all
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Tell me.
It's nostalgia to me
Okay.
for an
Yeah, I
era
like
that like
I
never existed.
yeah. Yeah, he's just an interesting character because he
Yeah, he
catches
is.
my attention. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
keep saying he's like the it man right now. And I think he's talented. He just has my
absolutely.
attention, and I
Yeah,
just curious what. But one thing I've been curious about he looks like
yeah.
this is totally like shallow, but like his lips now that they're exposed looks like they're full of like lip
Did he?
injections or something. I don't know. Maybe he's got beautiful lips, but like when the valve came off, and I've never met the
Maybe
man. I
that's what
think
he was
he's
waiting for was the right doctor, and he
but
was
his
the
lips,
veils.
and it's just like I know he's really good friends with the drag queen Trixie Mattel. I'm like, I think they must have got their
Um,
lips done together because now his lips are just like they almost look like blow up doll lips.
People love those
I
lips.
could be wrong.
I mean,
I could be wrong.
I mean,
And
you
if that
mentioned, yeah.
and if they are blown up and injected, great too for you.
Absolutely.
And
I have to kiss him to tell me if it's worth it or not.
right.
Because,
I
like,
think I have to kiss him to tell me too, because I probably would
hmm
kiss him. I heard
yeah.
it's funny. So many people are like, when I was posting sexy pictures on Instagram the other day, like I've seen him naked on Butt, like Butt magazine. I guess
Oh,
like
yeah.
back in the
Well,
day he was naked, and I
I
haven't
mean,
Googled it yet.
okay.
Like I feel like back in the day there was a lot more. I'm a little bit of out of touch of like queer music, queer art. It was when like I was good friends with like Big Dipper back in the day, and everyone was like
Oh, Big
rapping and
Dipper's the
talking about.
best.
Yeah, everyone was talking
Yeah.
about cock sucking, dick sucking in the alley. That was like the thing.
I actually liked that era more than what's happening right now because it was exaggerated.
It was very
It
sex
was
sex positive. Yeah.
sex positive and
Body
ridiculous.
positive. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculous.
It was just like, and it was funny.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you know
I
Big
that's
Dipper from living in LA? Do
I've
you
met
like
him. Yeah,
worlds collide or cross or
we don't. I've met him years ago. I actually met him when he used to come to New York all the time to like
oh yeah, yeah,
Brooklyn and
yeah.
do stuff. Yeah, more than here. Here it's like, LA. You don't see anybody
Do you,
ever.
do you do the scene in LA? Like every time I come to LA, I usually visit, I don't know if these bars still exist. Foo Bar and the Eagle. Those are like
Fubart is
always my
not.
go
Yeah,
tos.
Eagle still
Mario
exists.
Diaz's big fat dick. Sorry, talk to you.
No more dick. I mean,
No, but
no more BFD on Thursdays. That food bar closed during the pandemic.
oh Jesus, that was
I know.
always my go-to.
Yeah, that was a cute party. It was really, really brought cross-pollinated the two sides of town, which was nice.
Yeah.
I do go out to Akbar because I love to twirl,
Oh, yeah.
and I go to parties sometimes. My Victor Rodriguez has parties going constantly,
Yeah.
so I go to those sometimes, and I still try to make it out. But performing wise, I don't perform as much as I used to. I do the Planet Queer at Akbar sometimes. It's like a
Okay.
showcase, and there's just less opportunities for people to perform as a queer person in like a small communal
Hmm.
way these days.
Yeah, I
Which
was curious. One of my questions was
yeah,
like if you're gigging or like do you want to gig more or sort of
I
like
do. Yeah,
what
I
you're trying
do.
to pursue? Is there like a goal you're trying to pursue or a lane you're trying to go into, which is either recording more?
Yeah, well, it's funny you should be on your podcast because the lane for me is like I am a little older and I want to just embrace being my age, but also
Yeah.
continue to like I want to be like the daddy Shantus,
Yeah, Daddy's
Like,
super popular now. Well,
yeah,
actually, Daddy's
I
been
know.
popular. I think I don't know what's next, Granddaddy, or it's gonna cycle back to
That's
Twink,
how about like your uncle, your lawyer,
Uncle Daddy.
that lawyer uncle?
Yeah, Uncle
Um,
Daddy. All right,
yeah.
yeah. All
But
right, so
I'd like to get out and perform more. So I have a new album I've been working on for since the pandemic, basically. It's been a
right,
really slow process, so I'm almost done with it, and that's kind of what I would like to get out and make these songs have a little life
yeah,
because I'm really into them.
that's great. And also these days, you can't just like putting out a song. It's like you also like I feel like you have to put out a video, and then you have to put out like photo shoots, and then you have to put out clips, and then you have to perform that album, and then you have to like get it in front of somebody, which is not
hmm
easy.
No, no,
Not
all of it's like
easy.
a full-time job. So I'm just doing as much as I can. Like I'm gonna definitely make some clips and make some things
Okay.
and try to spread it. But my goal is just to get my little listenership up. And because I've made, this is my fifth album, so I've made some very rough stuff and some really polished stuff, but my
Hmm.
heart's been in all of it. So I just
Yeah.
want people to like listen to it and get something out of it. So it's my
Well,
own.
start an OnlyFans page.
I've thought about it, but I don't know if I can. I don't know. That's a whole other
That's just such
conversation.
a whole. It is right. A whole other
Like
conversation. And I was
living
like
with that.
half joking, half not joking. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh.
I know. Well, it's funny because a lot of the porn stars on OnlyFans I've seen, like all of a sudden they'll be like through all the, butt and stuff. There'll just be a clip of them playing the guitar or something. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, you're an artist too?
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
another one of those singers that I'm always like, I'm not making fun of. I just feel like I'm observing. It's like Steve Grand. Like I remember when he
hmm
sang some songs. He had a really popular song like American
Yeah.
Hero. But now I only see him in like his thong underwear, putting his like I think his underwear brand, which is like
Wasn't that like what the whole thing was at the time? People were kind of up in arms that he was just like sort of too pretty to be like a singer-songwriter or something. Like he had, I don't know.
yeah, it's one of those ones where like I don't know. I've met him once in P Town. He wasn't very nice,
hmm
which was But he was also, it was the night he was performing, and I just ran cross past him, and I'm sure he had a million things going on. But yeah, he's just
Hmm.
one of those people I always bring up. Like, I'm like, God, he's incredibly attractive. Like,
Hmm.
and then I don't know if he sings anymore. And I don't even mean that to be mean or anything. I don't know if
Hmm.
he sings anymore because I know he has underwear, and they're like thong underwear with like really high waisted thong underwear, which would never look good on me. So I'm like,
High waisted. Yeah, you have to have a certain shape for that.
yeah, which good for him. But he's another one of the singers I think about that I'm like, I know how good looking he is, but I don't know one of his songs.
I don't,
I'm
I
so
mean, that's, but then you're saying, like, again, it's not about to me about being old, it's just the shift in the way we experience encounter media because
yeah,
there's like, it's blows my mind. Like, every once in a while, I'll be like,
mind.
someone will say, like, a name of someone, I'll go to it, they'll be like, they have 70 million plays a month. And I'm like, I don't know a song, never heard of them.
Yeah,
It's just like these niche people and then somehow
yeah,
people know about them but there's no like collect. I guess it's just from
yeah,
Spotify lists or something, but that's not enough for me because we grew up in this like very like suspicious time, I would say, in terms of like
right.
people suggesting us things. Like we needed like a DJ to be like this is good, or we needed like
Oh,
that cool person at the record store to be like, oh, you
yeah,
have to hear this
suggested that.
shit, like
They had
some.
like album playing at the record store
Yeah,
where they're kind of setting up by the
yeah,
counter, and you're like,
yeah.
"Oh, is that what you're playing?"
Yeah, and so adjusting to this, like some Swedish corporation somewhere
Yeah,
said that this was valuable, and I'm like supposed to just be like, okay. I don't know if
yeah,
that's how it happens, but that's like my impression of it is like there's sort of a
yeah,
tech thing happening and we don't understand it, so it's just kind of goes without being
yeah.
questioned, I guess you'd say.
There's another singer who's kind of crossed through my radar the other day. Like Elton John, I think is a podcast, and she was on his podcast. And I didn't see the podcast, but I
Huh.
saw the clip of the podcast on TikTok or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then which I
Who was
followed the
it?
tracks back. Chappelle Rowan is
Oh
I
yeah,
think I'm
yeah,
saying her name
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. I think it's, is it pronounced that or Chapel Rowan or something? I don't know.
Chapel Rowan. But I
Yeah,
also
yeah.
was
I've heard
almost
her
gonna post.
songs.
Yeah. Well, I saw somebody that another clip of a bigger clip of a show that someone shared, but so I followed her and like they were saying who are some like queer artists or like people that are singing songs that are like the anthem of pride, and a couple people mentioned her. But then I went and
Really?
followed her on social media, and the first post that came up was her coming out on stage at some music festival, and she was crying. And she was like, "Hey, everybody, I want to share with you that I'm having a really rough day." So it was like this raw moment. I'm having a
Mm-hmm.
really rough day. She was saying, I've sort of skyrocketed to more fame as of lately, and she's having a really hard time dealing with it. And she was like
Mm-hmm.
crying on stage, but like to the festival. It was just sort of a moment. Like I wanted everybody
Wow.
to like wrap their arms around her and take care of her because if she is really like going through a moment, at the same time, like, fuck you, bitch, you're rising to fame fast. But I'm like, I don't want her to be one of these people that are like the star that rose so fast to fame overnight and then she killed
Yeah.
herself. I heard
Well,
that
yeah. Well,
scenario way too many times.
there's there's so much conversation around this because I listen to Questlove Supreme like religiously because I just
Uh,
love music trivia. I love music
yeah,
stories, and he's like a nerdopedia, of everything. In the past, it was literally like you were groomed for many years by record companies. You were given like small showcases. You were given, and you built up to your success. You did not have like
yeah,
an instant anything. So yeah, what she's going through is like typical business people that don't, who's
yeah.
paying for her therapy or like helping, who's making sure she's okay? Nobody, because they want to profit the most out of this
Right. Put her on
meteor,
that fucking,
you
keep her on
know.
that horse, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
saw it and it was
So
like this tender moment. And I was just like, oh God, I hope like she somehow finds a way to take care of herself or someone does because I'm sure she's thrilled that she's skyrocketing, but
hmm.
it's at the same time, she
Yeah.
just was terrified. And it was this vulnerable moment. I was like, ah,
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't have known what to do with that. That's another reason
yeah.
why I
And it was
just
to like
didn't.
the whole
Yeah.
audience. And of course, with cameras and videos, it's like, um,
They do say that like people who show vulnerability are way more successful than people that don't.
yeah,
Or
I'm
they
sure
they
that was a
stay in.
relate,
Yeah.
like a relatable moment. I'm sure people were like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
But that's just been
Let's
the
talk.
story of this stuff for a while now. But yeah. Well, I
I
was over at what's that dude's name? The guy, Channel Orange dude, the singer that's
Jim.
bisexual, Frank Ocean. I,
Oh,
I
Frank
was
Ocean.
I was at FYF Festival like 5 or 6 years ago and had
Did
to
you
like
guys get
sit.
together?
My God, please, I will. Yeah,
Frank Ocean.
I would. Yeah, but he was just the
Okay.
concert was like like an hour and a half like sort of emotional exploration of
Yeah.
stardom with like multiple cameras and all. So it's like what you were describing with Chappell Roan, like on steroids in terms of like the
Yeah.
self-aware artist of his journey, blah blah blah. And then he disappeared for I don't know if he'll come back, but um
Yeah.
I've seen this
I don't know his
pattern of
music.
like celebrity of being part of the story of being a young musician is this like exposure to attention that it's hard to handle. That's like part of the narrative of the
Right. Because it's
yeah.
not just like, I think it's not just like form. It's like probably like the interviews and like the
Mm.
content you have to create, and then the, I don't know, the
And the bullshit you have to
schmoozing
make
and
up
the
about yourself.
bullshit
Most people are
and
pretty boring. Like, you have to
yeah,
make up all these kind of stories about
yeah,
being so interesting. It's like you like to write songs. That's,
yeah,
like, what big deal? Like, I mean, it is a big deal, but it's like anyone's interesting if they choose to see themselves as interesting. So the pressure to do that as a job
yeah.
would be,
You gone on any dates lately?
have
Is
I?
that off the record? What we were talking
No,
about
I'm
at the
not.
very
Everything's
beginning.
I don't have a record. Um,
Because at the very beginning, you were like, whoa, woo, I'm running behind because I'm tired. And I was like, what? What? Why would you be
I am
tired?
tired. I did have a couple sex meetups the past 2 days in a row. I don't
You're
ever.
single? You're single?
I am single. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I take the Dan Savage approach. I listen to his podcast too,
Okay.
where he's basically, in a nutshell, just saying, just be up for the party. Because
Yeah.
the time we live in is so. I guess he sees it as a positive thing. I see it, I'm a little agnostic about it in terms of like, is this all working for everybody to just follow our hormones constantly to whatever destination? I sound judgy because I do follow my hormones, but I
Like with the
also,
use, with the facilitation of like apps,
yeah, it's
walking the
just,
street, walking the
yeah,
Hollywood Boulevard,
I wish I could do that.
hiking up. What's that park that goes up to the Hollywood sign?
Runyon, no, that's, there's
Maybe
a different
Runyon.
trail to the Hollywood sign. Running
Because I
Canyon's
always see
one,
my
yeah.
sexy LA people that I don't know, but online they're always running up, running canyon, like, whew, so
Oh,
hot. I gotta
yeah.
take my shirt
Oh
off.
yeah, well, that's the Sexy Canyon hike. Yeah, that
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay.
It's not even the fun one. But anyway, I've been on dates lately, yes, and sex is
Nice.
great. I love it. It's
Yeah.
just I never know if I'm on a date or not because on dates,
Oh.
dates are like usually
Like, do
I
we
don't know if
talk first? Do I linger after?
yeah,
Do I?
exactly. And there's not a lot of etiquette around that because so like in an old school time, I feel like people talked about when you're on a date how to read signs from people
All
or
right.
now it's a
Pick up on
little
like cues and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, there's not a lot of training socializing about how do you wind up in a relationship. Winding up in bed, well, no big deal. But how do you initiate
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I kind of like you. Let's take a leap of faith," and or
Yeah.
how do it's just yeah,
It's a different world. I mean, I'm married, but I mean, we're
yeah.
open. So I still go on dates, but our thing is like, it's more just hookups, but no intimacy. That's such a weird, like,
So
what
that's
does
what I
that
mean. Like,
mean?
well, what does that mean? Because yeah, so being single, I'm basically having the same experience.
Yeah. But I've been on the weird receiving end of that too. I've hooked up on one of the apps or something. I feel like Sniffies is really popular right now.
Hmm.
You know the app
I
Sniffies?
do.
But like I've had a,
Hmm.
yeah,
I've done
I
it.
popped on there. But like I've said before, like I use Facebook, Instagram, all the Sniffies, Scruff, the same. Like I've hooked up with people I met on Instagram, on Facebook, I don't know, whatever. But I've had experiences, I don't know, not so recently, but where like someone came in and they were wanting to like talk more and like get a vibe more. And I was just like, let's get right to it. And it was just funny. Like we were attracted to each other, but we wanted to approach it differently. I was just like,
Mm.
let's get to it. I'm sort of always, when I'm hooking up with people, this is so bad. I'm like, I always feel like I'm in a rush, but I
I
had
got
met
things
this
to do.
person.
I got things to
But
do.
But I feel like I'm good at picking up social cues, and so I read it up on that person. So I was like, okay, just up my system back up. Like, okay, what have you been up to? It's just weird social cues, and I don't freaking know.
I
Dating
don't
and
know.
being
It's all
single, and
annoying to me. I guess I'm a little bit simple-minded. I'm like, okay, we're here for a date. Okay, let's get to it. Let's have fun, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
If you're romantically inclined at all, then I part of me wants someone to kind of put that forward a little bit. I'm
yeah,
tired of like having to kind of sniff out if someone's, so to speak, romantic. So
yeah,
I've kind of given up on it, honestly. I don't really,
yeah.
in terms of finding a romantic person right now, especially being in LA, I just find people a little
Yeah.
one
Is it a
dimensional.
small community? I mean, LA's huge, but like, do you feel like, because how many years have you been there?
8 years.
See, I feel like I remember when you just moved there.
Yeah,
That's weird.
we met up and I
Um,
just moved here. I know it is weird.
but it's just like, does it feel like a small community or does it feel like even a community, LA, like the queer
It
scene?
doesn't feel like a community to me. I feel like it's publicly at least, it's like a presentation of cliques. Like you'll go out and you
Okay.
experience that people have cliques somehow that got formed somewhere and they're sort of
Yeah.
presenting them. That's not totally my experience. I mean, I also was a part of the Radical Fairies, the Los Angeles group sect of it, but it kind of died out during the
Okay.
pandemic. When that was happening, then I guess it was its own clique, and when I'd go out, I'd see those people. But for the most part, it feels kind of like it's more of a singles bar vibe, even though people are
Okay.
partnered, like just sort of people are
Yeah.
looking to find partners, but it doesn't feel like a community as much as I would
Yeah.
like, but
In my
I don't
mind, I
know.
always think of LA as like, well, from my perspective and what I've come around, there's always like hipster bears has a bunch of bars and there's like the drag queen scene like WeHo they do like a lot of the like just and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That's kind of the only two scenes that I've seen done there, like the Eagle crowd, like
Yeah.
hipster bear otters. That's all all
Yeah,
all
there's a lot of
photographed all photographed by
yeah.
Dustin Cunningham. I don't know if you know Dusty. I've known him
I've
for a
seen his
while.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, but like I always, whenever Dusty posts photographs of like events, I always zoom through them because I'm always like, "Who's there?" And then like I feel like there's like drag queens in the WeHo scene. I don't know what's like in between all that.
Just people living their lives, you know. It's such a spread out place that there isn't sort of a critical mass. Like in New York, my experience was there was sort of this intellectual community that would bring people to the museum or the night at the theater. More frequently, there'd be some level of, and
Yeah,
like that, like I mentioned in the beginning, like these sort of little performances everywhere that would bring people out. Like there's going to be a show at there was
yeah.
always an entertainment element to everything besides just being
Uh,
a bar. So that
you just,
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
you just hit something that I always say. Like I very rarely will go to just a bar these days to like stand around and mingle, but I most always will go somewhere for some sort of performance, whether it's a speakeasy, whether it's some
Yeah.
performance singer, some
Yeah.
drag show, just something on stage for me to watch and do. But like, I rarely go to a bar and enjoy just hanging out and mingling.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes do. The Eagle has Cub Scout. That can be fun. It's a little, it's very LA, Brooklyn, LA. I
Yeah,
forgot what Brooklyn was like at this point since I haven't lived there in so long, but
right.
it's just sort of kind of like, it's a certain vibe. I don't, I don't know. I'm not sure
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had like some crazy conversation in all this time at the bar. It's like, I'm not sure what people
yeah.
are saying.
Quick interactions, and it's
Yeah.
also like what other people's agendas, and
Mhm.
anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
tricky. Um,
It's tricky.
what about? Do you want to talk about colonoscopies?
Ah, why not? Who
Hey,
doesn't want to talk
you
about
told
that?
me when I reached out, you're like, this is funny timing because I was like, hey, I'm doing this podcast and I want to
Yeah.
talk about like aging and just concerns or
Yeah,
how to
I
prepare
know.
for it. And funny. You're like, I'm getting a colonoscopy. And I was like, would you like to talk about, get together before
My
or after it?
pleasure.
And I also was like, was it suggested? Because I think the age is like 50 when they're like, they suggest every man over 50
Listen.
get a
Well,
colonoscopy. So was it
yeah.
suggested or did you like sort of like proactively sign up for sign up for it?
A, a little B. I come from a,
Okay.
Jewish family. People are
Okay.
very medically inclined. They like to have every test times
Yeah.
10, So my family sits around sometimes. They're like, well, I had this test and I had this test. And so
Yeah.
over last year, my family was like, well, now you're coming up for your baby's first colonoscopy.
Maybe.
So and then my doctor did suggest it. And I was like, okay, really? Oh, this is the
Right.
time.
How was it?
The
Was
procedure
it like,
itself is fine, I
how
guess.
is the preparation? Because I know there's preparations for it, which is like a whole thing.
I did not care for it because I have
I do not would like to have another one, please.
I did not. Yeah, I would have chosen.
No.
It's just a lot of I got really dehydrated. So I would tell
Oh,
anyone who's
yeah.
just drink the day before you have to stop drinking or eating, have like Pedialyte all day and night because it wiped out. I'm
Yeah.
still kind of getting over the dehydration. I have a headache a little bit.
Oh,
But other
yeah.
than that, it
Well,
was fine. I have a very beautiful colon apparently. So
I bet you have great poops. See, I work well at my real job. We
yeah.
talk about poop all day long because when you work with animals, you talk about like what
Well,
goes in their
yeah.
mouth, what comes out to constitute
We
like what
can't
their
all
health
live
is
the
like.
high life, but that does sound
No,
pretty fun.
yeah. I actually also, it's been a while. I had a colonoscopy because I've had stomach issues my whole life, and so
Oh no.
a while back, they suggested colonoscopy to go into, but they also suggested an endoscopy, which is like you go down your throat. So while we have you sedated,
Oh.
they did both things. I feel like I was like pig roasted by
Oh.
doctors. They were up my butt and down my throat. At the same time, they're like, let's take advantage of this.
Isn't there like a
Um,
sex what is that called in sex land? Where it's like is
pig
that
roast.
spit
I
roasting?
think it's spit roasted.
That's
Yeah,
spit
because there's
roasting.
one in
Yeah,
the front.
okay.
Yeah, the
I
doctor
need to
spit
keep these
roasted me.
things correct.
But it's fine because I signed consent papers and it was fine. But the weirdest thing for me, like during the procedure, I mean, you had to do the stuff before drink the whatever liquids, barium or something. But during the procedure, I'm lying there and like I all of a sudden come to, like all of a sudden, like the
Oh
anesthetizing,
shit.
I woke up. And so all of a sudden I open my eyes and there I am with a tube down my throat and then my butt, the tube on my butt. And I'm like, I felt like I was choking. But before I could
Oh my
even do,
God, that's
but
traumatizing.
but before, because I remember like on my side, the two down my throat, the thing on my butt, and I remember also being like, and I heard, but before I could even like flinch, do anything, raise a hand, they had more drips in me, and I was out. But like,
Oh
and
gosh, that you had
then
to. Ugh.
I woke up, and then I just remember they like woke up in a room that like other people had colonoscopies. It was like an independent room, and I was in
Hmm.
a room full of like people just farting. Like,
We can't all have days as sunny as
yeah.
that, but we all can when you get your colonoscopy.
But you know the mental
That's
health part of
terrible.
that is I came back and everything was good inside.
Same, yeah,
Although,
yeah,
did
but
they give any details like don't have butt sex for at least 2 weeks after your colonoscopy, Darylin?
no, they didn't say anything. They just said to, after eat just eggs and things for like a day. But other than that, but they should have told me more about the dehydration. I keep
Yeah,
complaining about
that
it,
should
but
have been
it's
sort of like
true.
a warning or label. Um,
Yeah,
well, is
but
that
it's fine.
you look great. You look
Thank
cleansed.
you.
You look.
I feel like
I
not
wonder
a
if people
day. Yeah.
ever. I wonder if people ever worry like if they go in there like and someone's like a crazy bottom, which and they're just like, what if the doctor's ever like gone up there and the person's just been like,
Mm-hmm.
sudden like turned on by the like unintentionally because they're like out, but they're like they wake up
That's
and they're
how
just
much of a
like,
bottom they are. Like they're on
ah,
propofol and they're like still undulating in pleasure.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Well, that
I
means
bet
they should win some kind of gay award for that. I don't know what it would be, but like
it's
the Bottom
like
Society of America needs to know that some people, even under sedation, can
enjoy
still
the pleasure.
enjoy the pleasure. I don't know. I feel like I don't think that I think it's a very flexible and recovering organ.
Yeah,
So
it's
we're all grateful
necessary.
for that.
That and
Yeah.
to stick that and feeling your balls. Those are the two things men should always do. Look
I
for
just had
lumps on
that
the
done
balls.
too. I
Did
just
you
had
do
that
it
done
yourself or
last
did the
week.
doctor
No,
go like this?
I didn't even have that pleasure. I went to a urologist and like a Russian woman, like a heavy set Russian
Oh,
woman,
through like
like
urine samples?
no,
Okay.
she used a ultrasound thing.
Oh yeah.
She
Like to do a pregnancy,
ultrasounded
but on
it.
your balls.
Yeah, Yes.
Ah, that's so interesting.
It felt
I'm
so
sort of like
thorough. I was like,
I'm sort of a hypochondriac. Like every time like there's a moment where like I'm in the shower or something and like your balls are feeling low, I do that and like every once in a while I'm like, oh, I feel something. But I'm
yeah, I
like, is
know.
that just like things that are attaching to it? And like, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, oh shit, I'm
Mm-hmm.
dying, I'm dead.
No,
I
you're
gotta
not
tell my
alone in that.
family.
That's like a heebie-jeebie kind of a thing.
Yeah,
I identify that. That's an
my therapist
identifiable.
said it's a catastrophe. I catastrophize the situation, like with like that health things or like worry, but that's another
Well, it's
thing.
so easy to do. That's such a sensitive area. I mean, you're not alone at all in potentially
Yeah,
catastrophizing the testicular cancer,
right,
but people survive
right.
it to be
That's true.
positive.
That is true when it's found early. Are there other things, either health wise, like physical health or mental health, that
Hmm.
you think about while preparing to become older? I don't know if I'm
Uh,
laughing because it just seems like such like a dreadful.
I know.
This is where
I
people are
know.
like, ah, I don't want to hear about getting
Honestly, what's
old
weird is like it's a
or any
very
worries. Yeah,
yeah, it's a big conversation, and it's funny that like, it's women have already initiated it times 1,000 in terms of how they're treated, but gay men, it's like a little the only big concern I have, which I can intellectualize my way through that, but emotionally I
yeah,
still have a big question mark, is like when you cannot function sexually the way that you could, do you have no value?
like when your body
Yeah.
won't. Yeah, right, right, right.
Yeah, because it's like one thing to look hot, or you still look
Yeah,
good, or hey,
yeah,
daddy, but if
yeah,
you can't like perform the way that you could, or you don't even
yeah.
get pleasure out of it, like what is it feels even more so that you're like, I guess similarly to how women feel, but being pursued, I guess. But I just feel like that's my biggest concern. And the only concern is because
Yeah.
I just see such a predominance. It's like the value that gay men put on sex is like, I'm using the screen here. It's like
Yeah.
this. And then
Yeah.
this little bit left in public, people discuss like other people's value. And I'm sure it's maybe my exposure, my non-exposure to better communities, I mean, not
Right.
better say, but just like I live in sort of the standard most of the time here in
Yeah.
LA. And just that one dimensionality of life experience, I guess I just, to be within the gay community, sometimes I worry like I just won't have a role at some point. And like how
Value.
do you
Yeah.
then where do you place yourself? Like what's
Right.
your
If there's that's so interesting. Yeah, I was talking about recently about just sometimes older men become like they feel invisible, like just because they're I don't know less they're perceived maybe less desirable or something. But then if like they
yeah.
can't perform, that could be like that would be a mental fuck. But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's just such a focus on that I don't remember, sometimes I think back to when I was just a child, like a little kid or, earlier, like just the breadth of how big life was and all
yeah,
how the value of it was so spread out in all these different ways, and then like developing and then coming, being realizing you're gay and then coming out and then joining this world of queerness,
yeah,
that sex is such an important conversation point and currency, then pleasure is almost like not at the same level. It's like the intellectualizing of sex is way up here and the like actual amount of
yeah.
pleasure we have is somewhere here. And I
Ah,
just
like
think
the
like
chase, the chase. That's funny. I was just thinking, like when you said vessel, like that, a vessel of value, and like I do feel in the community, and myself included, sometimes like the vessel of value of life
mm-hmm.
is like sex.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes growing up, I saw people like maybe heterosexual couples with homes and friends and family
Yeah.
around them, fulfilling up the
Yeah.
vessel. And I do feel like
Yeah.
gay men are like sometimes when people say you guys are just a bunch of what's the term from just a bunch of pervert pigs. No,
I think
sodomy.
we're
Like I jokes to
yeah.
them, like fuck, I'm a total sodomite. Like I think about every time I see a man, I want to think about what his dick looks like. So it's
Yeah.
just like it's just like a vessel of value, and it is like sex. But then what if
Yeah.
you that's your whole life or life experience, and then you do become the point where sex is
Yeah.
now. Like the what else do you fill the
It's like,
vessel
okay,
with?
yeah, exactly.
Friends,
You do.
like
I mean,
board games,
people do that a lot out
food
here, actually.
addiction. I'm gonna fucking fill my house with like
Yeah.
400 cats. When my
Well,
value vessel gets really low from sex,
yeah,
I'm gonna just put
yeah.
cats in there.
Well, this
Yeah.
so today I met with the urologist, right? And I'm having this is a whole other conversation about I mean we can talk about it if you want, but like
Let's talk
I
about your penis.
I have some nerve damage in it,
Oh,
honestly.
all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
serious. I'm like,
I
did
I
you
mean,
like, did
well,
you
I've been
hurt
wanting
it?
to talk about it. I was in a fight in Europe in a long time ago, and my leg got ripped out of place. And I recovered, but it caused a hernia to happen, and I had that
Oh
fixed.
shit! Like a
And when they
tear.
fixed it, yeah, they bound the nerves really, really tightly, and it cut
Oh
off
right,
restricted nerves. So
right. Which is like
I've
blood
had
flow and
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I haven't, it didn't really have it didn't create a big problem until the last 5 or 6 years that I've gotten a little older and I've been going to like a urologist to talk about it. And he was talking about like, well, they did all these tests. They're like, you're fine. It's more of like a part of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous
right.
system. And I was
Okay.
like, that's so interesting. He's like, well, Viagra works on the parasympathetic, but the sympathetic is emotional. It's like the invitation of your
Hmm.
fear, flight or flight system.
Right, right,
And I
right.
was like, ooh, that's such a load. It's such a juicy thing to think about
And it
because,
also sounds really scary. Like actually, what I'm listening to, I'm like, Jesus,
mm,
that seems
well,
huge. Not scary, like
I've,
oh, like oh my God, I'm
yeah,
so sad, but like, whoa,
I've compartmentalized, because
you
it's
should write
been
a
a,
fucking song about it.
well, I think I want to write at least an essay about it because what it's shown me is that, I'm sure there are sweet as sugar gay men out there, but a
Yeah.
lot of my partners over the last, 15, 20 years, if I had shared this with them, they would have catastrophized it right away and
Hmm.
placed me in a category, instead of seeing my whole self as like this vessel of like juiciness
Yeah.
that I see
Yeah. Look
myself.
at that chest. I've seen that chest and those thirst traps. Anyways,
But
keep it going.
so like I just feel like that one dimensionality of
That's
like
funny.
just
You're
the
right.
self-servingness of like I need you to help me get off. That I'm not one. It's not like I think this one dimensionally all the time. It's just when in this topic I've thought about, wow, where can we introduce more conversations about
Right.
I don't about detaching attachment from just being a caring and empathetic being. Like
Well,
you can be a kind and empathetic being and not be prepared to get married to someone or have a
yeah.
relationship or be a boyfriend or anything. You can still do your like gallop, you can live your life and be free to fuck whatever you want, but you can
Yeah.
also look for opportunities to be a whole person on that journey. And
Yeah.
so I guess I see it as like when you're saying it was hard, it has been hard because I've had to perform sex
Yeah.
sometimes
And it's also one of
instead of
those things.
enjoying it.
Ugh, I almost use the word disabled. Like you don't look at
Mm.
you and know that there's an issue. It's like a invisible sort of
Yeah, it's invisible, and I try to
invisible
just,
damage. I don't know what the word is. Invisible thing you're
yeah.
going through.
And it's not like I don't have pleasure or anything. It's just that it's a little more challenging than maybe just someone who's like rough and ready every time.
All right.
And so I guess I'm sharing this all to say that like I think everybody's body's different and like there's just more nuance with the sexual
Yeah.
experience. And I guess if you're gonna value sexuality, I just encourage like a conversation about valuing every aspect of what sexuality
Yeah.
is, which to me is
That's
like the whole
interesting.
person, like everything that someone has to give, how they touch you, how they don't touch you, how
Right.
they, like the
How
way that
they,
they experience your body
yeah.
besides just like these functional conversations we tend to have, which is like, are you on prep? Do you want a bottom or top? Do you want to fuck me? What kink do you want to
Right.
have? The
Your
kink
place,
conversation is
host.
huge.
Yeah. I'm like, on that note, like, I'm like the least kinkiest person in the
Oh,
world.
really?
Like, my kink is that I have no kink. And it's not like I'm like, oh, not better or worse, but like, I have no kinks. And it's not that I've been exposed to them or tried them.
Hmm.
I just have no kinks.
That's good, I guess. I don't really, I
Isn't
mean,
that
kinks.
that a lot of people might be like, oh, fucking boring. Because on dating apps and stuff like that, when I've talked to people, they've asked me like they want me to be like the dominant daddy type. Because if like in a
Yeah.
picture I have the tattoos and a beard, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
they really want me to like come over and dominate me and abuse me, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I don't know. It's just funny. Like, anyways,
Yeah,
you
I'm
said
daddy
kink, and
doll.
it just
When people call me daddy radio, I'm like, do you see my picture? Like, do I look like maybe you're like gentle Jewish daddy that
yeah,
likes to like get bagels on Sundays and bring, and like pick you up at the
blocks.
daycare or something. I don't,
Yeah,
but I
that's a
clearly
whole.
don't, you know.
Ugh. So like with this in the future, is this something like you now have to like think about and consider for like in the future, like the urology type
You,
stuff is something that like gets better, gets
well,
worse,
this is what I was
gets
gonna bring.
operated on,
Yeah,
or is
there's
not
nothing they can
there.
do physically. There's nothing. That's again, there's a whole other conversation. I've been Kegeling the past 5 years. Like
I'm giggling right
I'm
now.
a master Kegler. Yes,
That
because
makes
I've
your
had
butthole tight, right?
all. Well, no, it's really to work on the pelvic floor because
Okay.
because of this nerve entrapment, and the nerve has become less trapped over the past 5 years. I've
Okay.
I've regained access through a lot of trial and error of like access to the muscles there. So I'm like Kegeling
Yeah.
now. It's like very exciting over here. It's a whole world of Kegel. But and I'm sharing that because like I've told the urologist like I'm doing this. He's like you can go to
Yeah.
acupuncture. He's like you do this. But he said like everything's fine, but I can up your testosterone.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? So he was
Do you
talking about
immediately think
like,
of side effects? That's
well,
my first thought.
I know, because I hear mixed messages about it. I hear
Yeah.
from my primary care doctor, like, well, we don't want you, like, minor normal level at this point. I'm going to get it
Yeah.
tested again, actually on Thursday. But he was talking about levels of like, I don't know if you know these numbers, but like something like 900 to 1200 and whatever it is,
Yeah. I
And
actually I have no clue.
I'm
A
like,
lot.
I was like, dude, people are walking around with that much just flowing testosterone in their body. Like, do they
Yeah.
just walk into buildings and just like find the nearest bathroom? Like, what are they, how did it? He's like, no, it doesn't impact you quite like that. And like,
Oh.
he's like, I can tell you how to get it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't think it just feels like it's masculinity and sexuality
Oh.
is a business as much as it is everything else.
Right.
And we're men are business to begin with. So like I keep telling him like, well, it's the pleasure that's challenging for me. It's not the other
Right.
stuff. And it's like there's nothing they can do about that. And so it's
That's
just, you
it's
know,
frustrating, but it is kind of good that you have a couple of like exercises and things you do to like sort of like be proactive in helping.
yeah, I think all
But
men
I
as
don't
they
know if
get
like
older can do that. Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
But
Jesus Christ.
yeah, I would just say about it as a final thing, like I encourage my PSA is like,
Ah,
I think that stands for that's a double. Anyway, it's
PSA.
just yeah, it's just that
Our
no, to
bodies are a vessel. We
yeah,
need to
but
take care
also
of
like
them.
sexuality is emotional, regardless of whether you
Right.
want it to be about attachment or not. Everybody's in an
Ah,
emotional
yeah.
body 24 hours a day. They're either compartmentalizing away the
Yeah.
emotional awareness or they're very aware of it. One way or another, it's like, can we just pull the veil back on like queer people are emotional beings and all our emotions don't have to be about whether I'm going through something or I'm triggered. It's actually
Yeah.
like just being an average day Joe, Jen, Jessica, whatever. We're
Julian. Yeah.
right. We're
Hmm.
always flowing at an emotional. That's just
Yeah.
the human experience. So I just would like to break open for any
Yeah.
age. Especially as we're getting older, that's like where I feel like it's an opportunity to like see
Yeah.
each other even more clearly.
Yeah. I think that's with sex. That's a lot of people's fears I've talked to. Just like because sex is so much a part of their lives, whether it's like positive or negative. Because I know a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are like sex addicts. I'm gonna call them out. I'm not by name, but that is a big part of their identity. That takes up a large part of their time.
Mm.
And so they look into the future, think that might be taken away there. That's scary.
Well, yeah, especially if like you're not even aware of your other needs and how to meet them. Because it's
Yeah.
really
And
about
like,
it's the personal choice to be like, well, this is meeting a certain amount of need, but really like my emotional life is what's challenging, not so much to like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. and how sex is sort of used. Like, yeah, God, this conversation could probably be 4 hours, but like I find myself using sex like sometimes negatively. And it's not like I have a lot of sex anymore. I feel like I've talked about very few experiences happened over the last couple of years, but like a lot of times I'll use it negatively. I'll be feeling horrible. And so I don't know if this is sharing. So I will have sex with a stranger, have fun, but knowing that afterwards I'm going to feel like shit. So it's like this weird cycle. So I use
Hmm.
it to like I don't know, punish myself for something, or
Mm.
it's I'm sort of the same way with alcohol, but
Mm.
another topic, like I'll somehow punish myself with alcohol and not reward myself and like feel great because I know I'm gonna
Right.
feel like shit. So it's like this weird thing. So I guess the way
Yeah,
people
yeah.
use sex also, whether it's negative or positive, is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's powerful.
Yeah, there is a certain, I mean, and that's where the kink stuff is to me. It's either in service of figuring out a way to get to that pleasure, or it's some kind of a because sometimes it's like if you're into, let's say, leather or something, it's sort of more of a masking or absorbing of the ego persona so that you can
Yeah.
show up to sex more freely. But then sometimes with the like choking and the hitting and the some of that to me is like all of a sudden you signed up for some sort of Fritz Perls Gestalt therapy session, and you're like, I
Uh,
don't got time for this shit. Because it's like, it could be sexy
yeah.
to the right partner, but for me, it's like, this is giving too much of myself to you. Like, I'm not,
Oh,
I can't, I can't be your
it's like
dad or whatever.
vulnerable. Yeah.
I like, it's too much for this casualness of a relationship for me. But I was going to
Yeah.
ask you though, what's one of your current, like, as a queer man aging fears or
I'm,
positives? What's a
you know what?
positive?
That's funny. Like I know they're positives. Like also I've called this podcast like over the hill because it's sort of like a lot of people think like I'm 52 and like you're over the hill, like life's the good stuff's behind you. And I'm sort of at this trajectory. Like I've never been happier with what I'm doing and
Mm,
I'm who I'm with. I
mm,
definitely have like lonely moments as an older person. But my concerns are really shallow. Like my concerns are really wrapped around with like physical, like my beard turning from red now it's very silver and white. Like
mm,
my skin that was always straight is now like popping up sunspots all the time.
mm.
So mine is really shallow, just sort of as far as like being perceived as an old person as well. Like I find myself thinking like a lot of times I'll make a joke about being old, the grandpa before anyone because I'm thinking other people are gonna think that. So I like get to it before
Hmm.
they can. But a lot of
Yeah.
my like worries and concerns are physical, like
Yeah. I get it.
physical changes, like yeah, just physical changes.
Yeah.
More or less than like a lot of people are concerned like where they might end up, like housing, finance.
Hmm.
Like I don't really worry about that much. I've never been somebody worried about money. I just thankfully I'm in a good situation in married, but like my concerns are really hung up with the physical body. Like
Yeah.
weight, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can fucking eat cucumbers for 6 weeks and I gain weight and I work out
I
6 times a week.
understand.
I have a physical
I
job and I'm just like, so
I know.
my
I have the
stuff's
same.
very shallow, very shallow. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of sort of concerns, but they're really wrapped around right now is shallow, like physical appearance.
I get
Like,
that. Yeah, I get
yeah,
that. I get that. I have all that. I also have my other concern, I guess, is just feeling stimulated and excited. I feel
yeah,
like there's this period when you're young and you don't know a lot about things, and then you just get saturated in experiences. And then I've hit this kind of point where I'm like, okay, my curiosity is definitely less accessible to me. And
okay,
usually, and social circumstances tended to push me. Like you're in like a social group and people are like
yeah,
introducing something you don't know, and then you have to go look it up
all
but I
right,
find a lot of, social groups of my specific age that I tend to keep on the DL publicly just because I tend to
yeah,
spend a lot of time in places where there's younger people, just because I'm a musician artist type and I
and
like to go to the
stimulating it via like around
yeah.
creativity, sort of,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And a lot of people that I get older, they kind of like disappear into their domestic
right.
life. So
It's
while I
comfortable,
still, yeah, I mean, I kind of
yeah,
pass but that's a weird experience to be like always hiding sort of like that I was around when there were just
Uh,
only phone was on the wall, and stuff like that.
yeah.
You know, I should,
I recently brought up Katie Lang to a group of 20-year-olds, and they were like, "Huh?" And I was
you're
like,
like, whoa,
"You gotta know.
Katie.
What about Tracy Chapman?" Huh? It's just like, and then I even brought up
Yeah.
like Jonas Brothers, and they were like, "We don't listen to them," because they were even like young for the Jonas Brothers. I was like,
Wow.
who am I
Yeah.
even talking to? And like, I
Yeah.
nicknamed one of my coworkers. We call her Fetus. She's 20, I think 23. Fetus. She likes it.
That's
She's taking it
yeah.
on. All
I'm
right.
not
So
sure
I
how
think
it's
I can't believe we'll have to talk again because I can't believe I've been trying to do these for like less than an hour and try to get them down. We've been talking for
Yeah.
like I was like 120 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it goes
Wow.
by
Well, it's been a
fast.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Let's
and
keep
thanks
up.
for
And
yes,
like in
please.
person too, like I really want to get together with the people in person. That's also been a
Me
reason why I
too.
want to like connect with people like via this sort of
Yeah.
podcast. I know I'm years old at getting into like podcasts, but like within becoming old, I've become disconnected with a lot of people and I'm married
Yeah,
now and
it's
I
good to
work
yeah.
and I want to talk to people again. So I really hope we like maybe
Me
next time get
too.
together in person, whether you come down to San Diego or I go up to LA.
I would love to come to San Diego, or we could meet in
Encinitas,
because I
Encinitas.
love that beach there.
Us too.
You
We
know,
met some
Moon
family there a
Beach.
couple weeks ago,
Oof,
and
it was
Sanitas because they live in
so
Santa
nice.
Barbara.
Oh
No,
my
they live in like
God.
LA, so we met sort of halfway.
Oh my gosh. Well, before you turn off the camera, I definitely want to plug dropping a song,
Oh my
Throat,
God,
in the
yes.
next couple of weeks. Throat. It's a very sexy song about liberating your spirit.
Deep
And my,
Throat?
yeah, you
No,
could take
my
it that way, but
no way.
and then I also have the album itself will be released over the year, each track, and when it's
Yeah,
complete, then it's called Heart Shaped Locket is the name of the
I love it.
album.
I love it. Are
But
you?
I would love to
It,
see you.
yes. Where can people follow you, find
I'm
your
at
music,
Musical
support
Dalen.
you? I know
Thank
supporting
you.
artists is
Support
something
me.
I've always encouraged people to do, whether it's like joining their Patreon, it's whether they're like, I
Yeah,
don't know, buying, do you buy songs anymore? Can you buy
you can. I'm
songs
gonna
or
do it. I'm gonna do the Bandcamp thing because
and
people are doing
merch?
that.
I don't know, merch
Yeah.
is a thing, right? Kids
Yep.
like merch.
They do. I'm gonna do the Bandcamp thing coming up, but yeah, my main situation is on Instagram, musical Dalin,
Musical Dalin.
DALIN, and then I have a website up at the link tree in there, and it goes to all the different places to stream the music, and then it will have the Bandcamp soon. And I'm thinking about Patreon. It's so much content I presume you have to
Yeah.
make to do that. So
It's tricky.
yeah,
It's so tricky.
it would be
I've
easier to do
followed
the
so many
OnlyFans.
artists. Yeah, it is. Fucking you make some money. Cha-ching. I
Like
just
Mr. Grand, Steve Grand, I'll just
yeah,
get
I
my
don't know if he
underwear
has
line
one.
going.
Yeah, underwear line, tank top line,
We need to come up with a sexy
armpit
older
jewelry
man
line.
armpit
I
jewelry,
don't know.
like
Do
a
people
you
make
braid
armpit
it.
jewelry? Yeah, braid it and put some beads on it.
Oh my
Fucking gays
God.
love the
We
armpits.
need to come up with like a middle-aged, like lingerie line, like something that
Yeah,
like fits us that I'm sure it exists already, but I still feel like there's room to just stampede the market.
casual, or you're
I
thinking
don't
like
know, just
like
like some
I saw Hugh Hefner when you did this. I saw Hugh Hefner was like a satin robe. Mm,
well, that's always classic. But I'm
yeah.
thinking more like garments, like full, like things that just like hit in unique spots on our body to
And
kind
then
of like
hide unique spots.
hide unique spots, just like something different. We need to
Show off
like
a shoulder.
yeah. Like just I'm meeting with the stylist tomorrow.
You
I'm gonna talk we're talking about sort of gender fluid clothing. I've never tried to go too far into that, but I'm sort of interested. So
yeah.
that's more to
Do you
come.
watch RuPaul Drag Race?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, because we're gay, we watch it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's cool. It's just interesting to watch the evolution of
yeah,
it. It's getting,
yeah.
pretty routine at this point,
It's
but
it's interesting. Also, you had to watch this if you've been around drag for.
oh,
Oh,
your
there's my cat
kitty.
Goose. That's Goose.
Goose. Hi, Goose.
Just where drag is now compared to what it used to be, but that's one other time. Oh, but I only bring it up because
Yeah.
I like the gender fluid sort of like clothing, whatever, gottmik, is one of the
Yeah.
contestants.
I
She
mean,
had
there,
this recent one was
yeah,
like had a full on suit from the front. And she turned around and it was just
I
like pink
know. That was
lingerie and stuff.
incredible.
That that was
Yeah.
something to also like I thought was creative. Those are the kind of things that intrigues me more. Like I like
Yeah.
drag queens that dress up to become pretty women, but when they're like creative and do cool shit, I'm
That's my favorite.
like
Yeah.
I like yeah.
She's incredible. I like the movement of drag. I do kind of feel like we need more revolution of like this gender fluidity in our community. I think it's
Yeah.
gotten a little like it's like drag or being in boy. It's like there
Uh
was a time where it was a lot there just was
yeah.
a lot more femme going on, even just the last 10 years ago. So I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get back to it.
Well, start a revolution. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up,
Thanks, Mike.
and we will be looking for the music that comes out and music
Yeah.
videos. And you just had a
Yeah.
10-year anniversary for one of your videos where people were like painting on your naked
Yeah,
butt.
that's
I
I
watched it
just
earlier.
yeah, I want to put it back on YouTube. Unfortunately, it takes it down when you
Uh, oh,
see anything. So
yeah,
I just edited a version where there's like little statements on everything. So I'm gonna
yeah.
put that.
YouTube hates gay people.
I know, and hates the human body and just
Yeah, Facebook does
ridiculous.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the You Look Good video had almost 2 million plays, and then I think it was
yeah,
taken down like 7 or 8 years ago. Or no, it's longer now, like eight years ago. And I didn't
yeah.
even realize that they didn't tell me, they didn't
Oh,
send an email, and
just boom.
I was like, oh, my revenue stream's down, and I was like, what's up? And then it
Yeah.
was gone, and I don't know, it just really pissed me off because
Well, I'm
why
glad
was
you're
there,
not out there grooming children anymore. God damn you.
the
That's what I always
funniest,
say about
my
DALIN.
niece, yeah, right. My niece used to watch that video when she was a little girl, like
Oh,
7, with her friends, and she'd of course put it on when I was around. She's like, "We're watching your video."
she's like, that's my uncle.
I someday they'll tell me what impact that had on them, but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
They'll probably tell their therapist.
first, and then we'll have
All
a good
right.
adult moment.
Well, don't be a stranger. Good
Yeah,
luck with your
thank you.
dating. Good luck with your penis and your balls and your butthole. Because that's what we talked about. We
Likewise,
talked about all those things.
yeah, I know we did. There's got to be some kind of universal queer prayer that we come up with that's like says that like to your butt, like just as
That
like
is
a
true. Like instead
close,
of like this, it's like nipples to pecker to taint.
yeah, something
Um,
like that.
we'll come
Like
up
it's
with it.
yeah, like I bid all those parts of you
Yeah.
well on your journey.
Healthy, healthy, connected heart, mind, soul, penis, butthole.
Yes,
Well,
absolute.
think we might solve world peace if we keep talking. So
I agree. Well, have
we
a
said that.
wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you soon, and let's meet up
Yes.
at the beach.
Yes, we just went to Black Beach the other day. I know you wanted to visit, but like I
I
have a whole thing
do.
about how I don't like gay beaches, but that's a whole nother
Was
topic.
that a good experience? That is a whole
Yeah, I've gone there.
topic.
I've gone there a bunch of times. It's just
It
the
seems
energy
pretty
of gay naked,
chill. It's
the
not
energy
good.
of gay naked beach is just. It might be my own issues, just bothers me. And I've grown up around gay beaches, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother conversation. But I'll see you at Black's Beach.
Okay, bye, dear.
Okay, bye.